Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video, we successfully loaded our navigation bar, right? Here we use that React Bootstrap navigation bar. Now in this video, I want to work into the body. So before working into the body, we have to need some of the data, right? Rather than what exactly the things I will add in here. For the reasons, I have already created one of the file. If you go to your exercise folder, so into this exercise folder, if you go to, that is a React source code. Into the React source code, you can see there is one of the folder as a data, and they have some of the asset, and into the asset folder they have some of the images. Okay, so that will be our product images, and also there is another folder as a data, and into this data that is our dishes.js. Okay, so now into the here I have already created some of the object data. So that is one of the API. Okay, so here if you want to create some of the API, you can create some of the API with the Laravel. You can create some of the API with the Django, whatever the things you actually choose. I have also some of the codes. If you want to create some of the API, then there you can create it. I have already created one of the complete e-commerce project, and into this e-commerce project I have developed one of the total API and how can call this API, how can load this API. So if you want to learn more about a specific some of the API and then React, then you can actually choose this one, rather than also there has some of the basic course that is also API based on of the course. Okay, you can actually take this type of one of the course. So right now for this one, that will be very simple one of the project. For the reasons I want to do, there is one of the data folder. I will simply copy this data folder, and now in our project, okay, into this project, if you go to that src, here I want to do and to paste it. So I simply created one of the folder as a data, and with this data, that is our dish.js. Okay, I simply loaded that things in here, and also there is another asset because image will be needed. Simply go to your exercise folder, and then if you go to the data folder, that is our assets. So assets I want to take it into the public. I simply copy it. Now go to our project, into the project, and that is our public folder. Into the public folder I want to paste it. Okay, I simply paste that assets. Great. Now if you go to our project, into the project, now you can see there is a data, and in this data there is a dishes.js. So I simply created one of the object as a dishes, and into you can see there is on the object data. Like there is a ID as a 0 ID, they have some of the name, they have some of the images. So friend, you already know that JavaScript. I hope every part is very familiar to you. So simply I created on the object, and that is our all that object property data, right? Property, that means all that our key, and then value, there is another description key, and then value. There is also the comment option. Okay, they have some of the comment, and also there is another one as a ID1, and also they have some of the comment ID2, and then ID3, and also there is another one as a ID4. Okay, that means the last one is actually ID3. That means the 0 to 3, that means they have the 4 data. And into the images, you can see there is assets and the images folder, and then that is our 3K JPG. That means I have already saved this file. There is the assets, and you can see that after that asset I have created another folder as images, and that is all that our file. That means the JPG, you can see there is a 3k.jpg. So now automatically that will be get that images. That is our key as images. Okay, so I simply created on the file, and there is on the object all the data. So that is look like as the API data, but here if you want to create some of the API, as I told you, that will be the another portion. You can create some of the API with the Laravel. If you want to create some of the API with the Django, you can actually create it. Rather than you can also get some of the API from the online. So they have some of the fake API. You can also use this API. Our condition will be just like that same. Okay, so now simply edit this file as a dishes, which is totally fine. Right now there is a navigation. We don't need this navigation. Now I want to open this body. So that is our body file. So I want to load another component. So into this body area here, I want to segment it. So when you segment it, it's actually better. If you get some of the error specific some of the component, you can solve it very easily. So I want to create into the body folder. I want to create on the new file, and I just name it as a menu. Okay, menu .jsx. So into the menu.js here, I want to create one of the class-based component, or then you can also create some of the functional component, but I want to create the class-based component with the RCE. If you now click as enter, now automatically that will be loaded. It will be inputted that React component, and then React, everything is ready-made. Okay, everything is ready-made in here. So here, first of all, I want to load our this JSON data. That means here, that is our dishes and dishes.js, right? Here, first of all, I want to load this in here. So if you want to load it, that means we have to import it, right? That means we have to import. And here, if you go into the dishes, I have already created our name as a dishes. So I copy it, and now I want to use it as a dishes. I use that same name, and from, okay, it will be comes from or which location. For the first time, we have to go outside from to this folder. So I simply go outside, and after that you can see there is a display as a body, footer, and then header. So also we have to go outside another one. Yes, now you can see now that is our data folder, and into this data folder I want to access our dishes, right? That is a dishes.js. So I simply loaded this file in here. So that is the JS file. If you go, you can see there is a dishes.js. Great. So I simply loaded this file, and now we have to do, first of all, we have to call one of the, because here we have to display this data, right? For the reasons, into the component, into this component area, I want to get it. So if you want to get it, that means I want to save all the data in one of the state, right? Each states will be hold some of the data. So I simply declare one of the state. So that is our state property, and into this property area, I want to save our all the dishes data. So I name one of the property as a dishes. Okay, dishes, and into this dishes area, I want to pass our these dishes. Okay, I simply pass it. I hope, friend, it's very much clear to you. That means in our dishes, all that object data, right now I save it into the states, and one of the property I declare as a dishes. Everything is right now in our this property area. And now if you want to visible it, we have to visible it into the render, and then there is a return, right? So into this return area, I want to do better. I want to use one of the bootstrap class as a class name. Class name, I want to use one of the bootstrap class name as a container. If you know a little bit the bootstrap, I hope it's very common one of the class. So it should be adding some of the default padding. So I simply loaded it, and also I want to create two of this part. So I take as one of the div. Okay, I take one of the div, and here I want to load one of the row first. So I put that class name, that is also one of the bootstrap class name, as a row. Okay, so that is a row class. And if you want to also add another class with the using the bootstrap, that means the React bootstrap, you can also create it. If you go to that layout, into the layout, you can see you can also use that as a container, and you can use that as a row, and also there is a column. Okay, so you can also use these things. If you want to use it, you can use it. So you can see there is a one row, there is another row. If you want to segment it by the 2 by 2, you can also segment it. That will be as a container row, and then that will be the double part. Okay, you can also add it. So right now I want to use that direct bootstrap code. So that is one of the row. I simply take it. Okay, every row contain 12 column, right? So I want to segment by the 2. That means column 6 by 6. I want to take 2. So I take one of the div, and into this div area I want to put another class name. Okay, class name, and this class name will be as a column. I want to use that column as a 6. Okay, that will be as one of the column 6, and also I want to take another one. So right now that will be as a 2 part. Okay, that will be as a 2 part. I make some of the things in here, then that will be easy. I take as a oh1 tag, and I make it as a column. Okay, column 6, and also I make another one as a column 6 right. Okay, so that will be our total row, and row contain 12 column 6. I take it into this div, another one as a column 6 into the right. Great. And also I want to create another one, because here I will actually load one, and that will be loaded another menu. That means the menu details I want to load. For the reasons, into the body I want to create another new file, and I just name it as a menu item. Okay, menu item. So this type of one of the file I want to create as a JSX, and here that will be actually display all that file. So better I want to use one of the functional component. So I simply copy it, and here that is our menu item. I paste it. We don't need this. I remove it, and also I remove it. Okay, so that will be our name will be as a menu item. Okay, I simply loaded this menu item, and from here I want to export as a menu item. Great. Now in our menu, okay, into this menu I have already get all that our object data in our this property. right? Now there has a multiple one, so here we have to do one by one, we have to load this data. So if you want to load one by one, then what exactly you have to do? We have to map this data, right? With this map, or to automatically will be loop all that our data. So now I want to do, if you want to add this map here, we have to add it into the render, right? Before this return, here I want to do that. I have already discussed about that things with you, friend. I hope you can see that is now we are applying it into the project. So I take one of the variable as a menu. Okay, I take one of the variable as a menu. So right now all that our data in which place, everything in our this property as a dishes, right? So now if you want to access it, if you have to do, you have to use it as a this, and with this we have to access that our state property and then the dishes property, right? Here I simply take it, and after that I want to add that as a map method. So into this map method area, I pass all that our data with the name, whatever the name actually choose. Right now I name it as a item. Okay, if you want to change it, it's totally fine. So I simply take right now all the data into the item. And now in our function here, I want to return this data. Okay, that means here I want to return all that our data. So I simply loaded that return, and this returned area I want to pass all that our data, because I want to visible this data with our this menu item. Okay, so here if you want to pass it, we have to pass it from to the props data, and also we have to get this props data in here, right? Now let's do that work. For doing this, I simply loaded our this component as a menu item. You can see that is a menu item. Click as enter. Now automatically that will be inputted. You can see it's now inputted that menu item from to the menu item JSX, which is totally fine. And now here we have to props this data to the menu item, because right now all the data in our item. So here are all that item data. I want to pass it in our menu item page. That means menu item component. So I take as a name as a dish. Okay, I name it as a dish, and dish will be our item. So I simply pass this data. Simply understand how that looping actually working. So that is our state data, all that our JSON data. I take it with this map, I name it as item. So now this with this item here will get all that our JSON data. Okay, that means all that our object data. Right now I simply pass all the data in our which component as a main item component with these props, right? And now I want to visible all that our data with this menu, right? With this menu, if you want to visible, like that is our call 6 here, I want to visible it. So that will be our menu will be loaded in here, right? So that will be our display menu. I have already discussed about that things with you. Now we have to also pass this data, that means that is our the props data. Now go to that menu item. So here we have to load this props data. So there is only one parameter. I just name it as a props. Okay, that will be the props data. So I simply added that props, right? So that is our props data I simply loaded, and into the returned here also we have to return, and there's date. First of all, if you want to check that what exactly our props data, so here I pass that our name as item as a dish, right? Now if you want to display this props data, then I show you with the console log. With this console log, if you want to display this props data, so that will be as a props. I simply loaded this props data. Okay, now that should be displayed in our console log. If you now click as a save all, go to our page. Okay, I refresh this page. Page is successfully loaded. If you go to that inspect, and now if you go to that console, and you can see it's not display any data, right? Here it's not display any data because of all. If you go, that is our menu item, that is a menu, right? It's now loaded in our which page? It's now loaded our body page, right? You can see into the body I have actually displayed that only h1 tag for the reasons our body is display. So into this body area now I want to load our this part. That means that is our menu component. Okay, here I want to load it. Okay, here I want to load this menu. That will be as a menu. So that is a menu component. I simply loaded this menu component automatically. Now that is inputted menu from to the menu. So right now that is appropriate, right? Our this body component will be loaded. Here I loaded that menu. So that is our menu, and into this menu area I have already get all that our object data, right? Now that should be great. And also from here it should be passed that our props data, and then here I loaded that menu item component. So that is our menu item component, our console log props data. Now let's check this out. Click as a save all. Now go there, click as a refresh. Yes, now you can see it's now perfectly get all the data. Right now they have the 4 data. There's the dish one, you can see ID as a 0, and there is a ID as a 1, ID as a 2, and ID as a 3. There is a 4 data and it's perfectly get this all data. Okay friend. And also they have one of the error as a each child in a list should have a unique key. So that is not much important, but if you want to solve it, it's actually asking you to add that some of the key. So if you want to solve it, it's very easy. Only we have to pass on the ID, because if you go to our JSON, that means our dishes data, you can see there is individual some of the ID. So now I want to pass this ID in our menu. That means in our menu item area, I pass that as a item, right? Here also I'm going to pass that as a key. So our key will be with this item, because with this item we'll actually access our everything, right? So now with this item I want to access our ID. Okay, ID field. Great. So now that is actually our ID field. Now I want to access it. I simply pass that individual all that ID. Now that should be not display. Click as a save all. Now go there, click as a refresh. Yeah, you can see our this error is totally gone, and now it's display all that our object data. Great. That means right now only we have to visible it with the view mode. Right here we display it with the console area. In our item menu item, you can see with the console I displayed. Okay friend, I hope every part is very much clear to you. This is very easy, all that process. By doing we actually learning something, but you have to practice it. Okay friends, just simply code with me, everything will be more clear to you. So I want to continue this process. In our next video I will display all that our object data in our page. How can do that work, I will show you with a live example. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.